Lila had never once taken off the necklace her mother gave her before she passed away. It wasn't gold or diamond. In fact, it was nothing more than a string of polished stones strung together with love. But to Lila, it was priceless. Her mother had been a farm woman, hardened by the sun, the soil, and the endless work of raising animals and crops. She had taught Lila resilience, honesty, and strength before illness took her too soon. The necklace was all Lila had left, a piece of her mother's spirit resting against her chest. Every morning before school, she would touch it gently, as though her mother's hands still lingered there. But the world of high school was not kind to sentimental treasures, especially for a girl like Lila, quiet, from a struggling farm family, different from the wealthy kids in her class. And in that world lurked a group who thrived on cruelty. The Bullies. At Westbrook High, the halls were ruled by a trio: Candace, the self-proclaimed Queen Bee, her loud shadow Brianna, and Marcus, a football player who followed their lead. They had money, flashy clothes, and an aura of untouchable arrogance. To them, Lila was an easy target. She wore simple jeans, her shoes were often dusty from the farm, and she spoke softly. They mocked her accent, her chores, even the lunches she packed. But what caught Candace's attention most was that necklace. "Why do you wear that ugly rock string every day?" Candace sneered one afternoon. "Did you dig it up from the pigsty?" Lila ignored them, clutching the pendant close. Silence, she knew, was sometimes the strongest shield. But her silence only fueled their malice. The day of breaking. It happened on a Friday when the corridors buzzed with the energy of the upcoming weekend. Lila was heading to her locker when the bullies blocked her path. Candace smirked and reached forward. "Let me see that little farm trinket." Lila stepped back, shaking her head. "It's mine. Please don't touch it." But Candace's hand shot out, faster than expected, and with a cruel yank she pulled the necklace from Lila's neck. The beads scattered across the floor like tiny fallen stars. The sound of them hitting the tiles was louder to Lila than thunder. "No," Lila gasped, dropping to her knees, desperately gathering the pieces. Candace laughed. "Oops, guess it wasn't worth much after all." "Just like you," her friends howled in agreement. Around them, a circle of students watched, some amused, some pitying, but none brave enough to intervene. Tears blurred Lila's eyes. She clutched the broken string of beads in her palm, her chest aching. That necklace had been her mother's memory, and they had crushed it like it was nothing. Something inside her snapped. The black belt within. Few at school knew that Lila had trained in martial arts since she was 9. Her mother had enrolled her in karate not just for self-defense, but to give her confidence in a world that would often try to break her spirit. And Lila had excelled. Quiet and focused, she had earned her black belt just the year before. She never flaunted it, never used it to intimidate. But now, as she rose from the floor, clutching the broken necklace in her fist, the discipline of years flowed back into her veins. She faced the bullies, her tears drying into fire. "You shouldn't have done that," she said, her voice steady but low, carrying a weight that made even Marcus pause. Candace rolled her eyes. "What are you gonna do? Cry harder?" The crowd chuckled nervously, but in that moment, Lila's stance shifted, subtle, strong, unmistakably that of a fighter. The fight. Marcus shoved her shoulder. "Move, farm girl. Don't make this worse for yourself." But Lila's reflexes were lightning. She sidestepped, twisted his arm, and in a flash had him on the ground with a judo throw. The crowd gasped. Brianna lunged next, swinging wildly, but Lila ducked, swept her legs out from under her, and sent her sprawling with a thud. Candace stood frozen, her smirk vanished. What are you?" Before she could finish, Lila stepped forward with calm precision. She didn't punch or kick unnecessarily. She simply blocked, redirected, and used their own aggression against them. Each movement was controlled, beautiful in its efficiency. Candace tried to claw at her, but Lila caught her wrist, twisted, and with a gentle but firm push, sent her stumbling into the lockers. The bullies groaned on the floor, clutching their bruises, humiliated before the watching eyes of the entire hallway. The crowd erupted, not with laughter, but with awe. For the first time, they saw Lila not as a victim, but as a storm they should never have underestimated. Straight to the hospital. The school nurse rushed in moments later, horrified at the scene. Marcus had twisted his ankle in the fall, Brianna had hit her shoulder, and Candace, though more bruised in pride than flesh, demanded to be taken to the hospital. Ambulances arrived. The bullies, groaning and humiliated, were wheeled out on stretchers. "Bullies sent to the hospital," whispered one student, recording on his phone. The phrase spread like wildfire across the school. Lila stood in the hallway, breathing deeply, the broken beads still in her pocket. She had not wanted to fight, but when pushed to the edge, she had defended what mattered most. The aftermath. The principal called Lila into his office. At first, there were stern words: fighting was against school policy. But dozens of students came forward, explaining what had happened, how the bullies had harassed Lila for months, how they had broken her mother's necklace. For once, the truth couldn't be ignored. Candace and her crew were suspended. Their parents were furious, but the community was tired of their arrogance. The sympathy shifted to Lila. Her quiet strength had become a legend. The necklace restored. That evening, Lila sat on the farmhouse porch, the broken beads spread across the wooden table. Her father, a man of few words, joined her silently. "You fought for it," he finally said, picking up one of the beads. "Just like your mother would have." Together, they restrung the necklace, bead by bead. When it was finished, Lila clasped it around her neck once more. The stones felt heavier now, not with sorrow, but with pride. She touched it gently and whispered, "I'll never let anyone break you again, Mom." Legacy. In the weeks that followed, the whispers of that day echoed through the halls. Some called her the farm girl fighter. Others spoke of her black belt with reverence. But Lila didn't care for nicknames or gossip. She carried herself the same way she always had: humble, calm, focused on her studies and her chores. The difference was that no one dared mock her anymore. Even more than fear, there was respect. And every time she walked through those halls, her mother's necklace gleamed softly at her chest, unbroken, unyielding, and eternal.